Welcome to the Felt Dyslexic Artist Interview. My name is Liz Buckridge. For me, as a dyslexic artist, other artists and creatives have always been my number one inspiration. In these interviews, we talk with artists and creatives who share their stories and we gain insight into their process, from inspiration to art tips, career building, and more. We're so lucky to listen to the wisdom of Gwen Fuller today. I'm so excited to hear about her past and future projects and insights on life as an artist. Hey there.
Hi, how are you?
Thank you for talking with us today.
My pleasure.
I'm going to jump right in. So, describe the art you make. What medium do you primarily work in, and why do you choose that medium?
Well, at present, I'm working more in watercolor than oil, but I work in both. I it's a lot easier to work in oil. I mean, in watercolor for me because it just takes it doesn't make as much of a mess for one, because oil can be a little messy, but it's fun. And both of them are really fun for me. I like them both. But they have just different qualities and they're very opposite one another, which I like, and in the way that you approach the painting. So it's good for my brain to have to change gears and really think about what I'm doing and just enjoy the process.
Yeah. Do you work in any other mediums?
No, just so well, yes, but actually, I'm sometimes working pen and ink. Sometimes I add that to watercolor as well. Um, but mostly I'm just in those two mediums. Yeah.
How did you get into making art? Can you tell us about your background and how you first became interested in art?
Art's just always been part of my life. Um, my dad was very creative with wood. He was a woodworker and he was a carpenter, but he was also at home with his lathe and his carvings and things like that. And he was very creative. And I think that's where I got that feeling of wanting to create things of beauty. And so I started very young, just feeling art. You can feel it. It's part of you, and so it just started at a very young age, and I kept changing what I was doing as I grew older, and it just began to evolve into what it is today.
How did you get into your specific style? What themes or subjects inspire your work?
Nature is my go-to place. It just speaks to me, and just being out riding in the car. Sometimes I'll say to my husband if he's driving, I'll say, "Look at that sunset," or "Look at that cloud," or "Look at those trees," and it's just wonderful how beautiful and alive nature is. And so that's what I try to get into my work. But I also like bringing man-made things into natural things because in some instances they've especially in the country, I think we have learned how to make beautiful buildings fit into the natural world. And so I very often will do a build. I love to paint buildings too, but landscapes are my uh, for a long time were my uh, subject matter. But here I am in Rhode Island now. I'm for a long time lived in New Hampshire, so I had barns and I had fields and I had fences and I had all of that kind of thing. But now I can paint the ocean, and it's very exciting. It's very exciting. So I'm loving that, and the rocks, which are very demanding. It just really makes me happy to have a new subject that's really an exciting one. Yeah.
I love that. Do you consider yourself neurodivergent or neurotypical?
I would say neurotypical. But I think artists, people who are artistic, um, kind of go in the other way too. Um, we see things differently, I think, than other people do in a way, and the things that we learn and feel might be a little on the divergent side. So, and I think that's a good thing. Um, for instance, I mean, I don't know whether this really fits um, those categories, but most of my work is realistic. But I really love the abstract. So, and I love, I have some favorite painters that that are abstract or expressionist painters, and I can't paint that way, but I love it. And so I want to be, trying that, and I do once in a while, but I'm more the neurotypical, I will say. Yeah.
Have you faced any challenges or setbacks in your art career, and how did you overcome them?
Well, I think we all face challenges in life, period. But yeah, my husband was in the Navy. We were Navy 20 years. And I was very often raising three little girls on my own because he was at sea. And so my time was more taken up with that, of course, than my art. And I let it happen on purpose. Um, so, but I wouldn't call it an obstruction or anything like that. It was just something I chose because I loved my children and I wanted to have have them have a wonderful life. So um, that's a minor set, a thing that would you say would stop me from painting some as much as I would like. Although I did paint some when they were around. And we had a lot of art projects that we did together. But in other ways, sometimes an artist gets in a slump, and that's not fun. It's you just I don't know why that happens, but I know several artists and friends of mine who are friends of mine who will say, "Ah, just can't get out of this slump." And but I like to think of it as a way of, okay, I'm not physically painting, but there's a lot of stuff going in my head. And so I'm thinking, I'm feeling, I'm wondering, where am I going next? So eventually you get yourself out of that place. And the way I often do it is to take a class or go to a demonstration or just talk to other artists and share ideas. And that's really helpful for me. Um, so it all comes about and gets back together after a while. Yeah.
I love that. Where did you grow up?
Well, I was born in Springfield, Mass. And I lived in a little town called East Longmeadow, which is very close by. And I lived there until I went away to college. And um, that's it. That's where I grew up. I really grew up after I got married and had a family, though. I think that's when I really grew up.
Did you do art when you were a little kid?
Yeah, I did, but I didn't paint. I always wanted to draw things, but I would go out and I might be out in nature and I would find some little stones or twigs or things, and I would try to make things out of those. And so I was always into creating. Um, and I wasn't thinking like an artist. I was just being um, um, what felt good, doing what I felt good. And so it was, I was always into that. And I did by the time I was in, I would say junior high school age, I was doing some illustrations on my own. Not that I was selling anything, it wasn't that. but I was just enjoying drawing more and putting it on paper. So that's about what I did as a young person. Yeah.
Do you have a favorite colorway or color palette for your art? And is the color for your art different or the same as the colors in your house?
I find this a very strange question. Um, I I don't color for me is something with art that's separate from every other color. I might like one color in my house more than one another, but I can't do that in art because that's that's not painting what I'm trying to convey. When I'm painting or drawing or trying to create something like that, I want to create an idea or a feeling or a sensation, and the colors have to fit that. So I've learned how to, by taking a lot of time studying with one particular artist, of learning how to use color to get a painting that flows. The colors flow. They're not fighting each other. They all meld. They give you the right sensation you want because you know how to use these colors. So I would say no, I don't have a colorway.
Do you remember the name of the artist that you studied
Yes,
under?
Peter Granucci. He was a teacher of mine for about 7 years, no, about 8 years in New Hampshire. And he was an excellent, excellent teacher. And I gained a lot of knowledge about color and about everything, about composition, about perspective, the whole thing. I mean, he was great.
Describe the space where you make your art. Where are we?
You're in it. And it's small and but it's just big enough for me to be able to work well. I do my watercolors here, I do my oils here and on an easel. There's my easel right there. And but it works. And it's the only thing is when I put things I have to put things on the wall because there's not a room to store them anywhere. And and I put them in boxes underneath here if I have to, under the tables. But it works. And it's a place where I can come and it's just mine and it's just for art. And even though it's small, it does the job. And I just have to be careful where things are because sometimes I'll set them down and I can't find them there. But it's a great little spot, and I'm very, very glad I have this space because I know a lot of people who were in that class I was telling you about had to work at their kitchen table. So I'm very glad I don't have to do that. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
love small spaces, actually.
Yeah.
Um, how did your school system support your interest in art growing up?
I don't remember having any art really in the lower grades, but when I got to high school, we had a good art department. And the teacher there was good. We tried a lot of different things, everything from drawing and painting to sculpture. And that was a nice experience. And we could talk about art in that class. It was a great class. And so that's about the only place in school though that I got any instruction. When I went off to college, I went to a liberal arts college. I wanted to go to RISD, but I didn't quite make that. But um, I really, they were just teaching me the basics. So my real instruction as far as school and all of that came later in life from other teachers, but not in school.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. How do you see your work evolving or changing in the future? What do you have planned?
Well, I'm just planning on keeping on going. I think that's for me, and trying to improve, and I'm also trying to loosen up because I can get too tight sometimes, especially in watercolor, and I have to be careful of that. So I just took a great class at the Portsmouth Art Guild. And it was all about just making painting a practice. And they had us do these real quick sketches with our paints. We had 20 minutes, that was it, to do a painting. And it was wonderful because you can't tighten up. You don't have the time to tighten up. And it was just the best thing. So since then, I've been really trying to use that approach. And I love that. It makes me loosen up too. So it's not that I'm a real uptight person, but anyway, it's just it's that's kind of my plan, is just keep trying new things, open up, let it just let it flow.
Oh, that's good. Can you walk us through your creative process from idea to finished piece?
Yeah. For either medium, I do a sketch. I do what's called a notan. I don't know if you've heard of that word or not, but you probably have if you talked to lots of artists. They're just little blocks of that you draw. And with one color, black, you put in the shapes that are on your that you hope to have in your painting. And it shows you how the composition can be improved, um, where the items go, and the fact that the things in your painting are simply things. You don't want to take, for instance, a tree and think, oh gosh, I'm trading a tree. Yeah, I'm painting a tree. No, you're painting a shape. You want to get that shape and that the feeling of that tree. That tree has a life. So you want to get that. So anyway, you start with these notans. So I can get off subject.
Oh, this is great.
And then I create a sketch in the size that's equal to the size of, or a reduction, but equal to the size of what I might do on paper or canvas. And I work on that when to work with my composition, to make sure that I'm doing the best I can to get those shapes in an interesting way. Then I transfer that to either a final piece of shape paper, of watercolor paper, or onto a canvas. And we're off and running then. So that's all the hard work, but it's worth every minute for me. I've never been one to just slap a canvas on my easel and just start to paint. And I think a lot of people think that that's the way most artists paint. Well, some of them do and they're successful, but not me. I think for me, I would lose my way. It's better for me to plan ahead and work out the interesting shapes, interesting composition, so that the painting ends up being interesting for someone to enjoy. And me too, I want to enjoy it.
That is so good.
Yeah.
How do you combine the art you love to make and the art you sell?
I'm not quite sure what you mean by that, but I think that I don't get attached to my art. I mean, once I've painted it, I've kind of gotten the goodness out of it for me. It makes me feel good if I've done a good job. And I'm really glad, and I'm super glad when somebody thinks it's good enough that they want to have it to enjoy themselves. I never feel bad about selling a painting because I think somebody else is buying it because they really get something from it. And for me, that makes me feel good. So I'd rather have that happen. And it's happened to me a few times. And And that's the best thing that could happen. Because I mean, it's nice to feel like you've succeeded in exciting someone else about art. Yeah. So
How do people find your art to purchase? Do you have a website or?
I don't have a website, and the only place now is on Instagram. And so at Gwen Fuller 42, and that's it. I mean, that's all I've got. I put on when I finish a painting, I put it on there. And I decided I'm getting too far along in life to worry about a website. So I just want to enjoy it. I don't want to do the business end of it. So if I to show paintings, I will put them in a show if I can get in a show. And if there are, you know, places around where I can do that, and there are plenty of them here. And so they would be out there, but then on Instagram would be the only other place.
Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
put that information in the show notes. Can you share a recent project or a piece of work that you're particularly happy about?
Yeah, that painting behind the light there, I was happy with that because it was one of my seascapes that turned out, and like I said, rocks are not the easiest thing to paint. But in that one, I included a figure, and I don't usually do that, and I think it tells a story, and that's what I like about that it tells a story, that somebody in that painting is contemplating something and getting something from standing by the ocean, which happens to a lot of us, I think, because of the motion and the sound and the air and I don't know, it does something to our soul. So I'm that's the latest one that I really feel pretty good about. Yeah.
How do you stay motivated as an artist?
Well, I do a lot of things, just like I was saying, and if I'm in that slump, I go to a class, I do something like that. I get together with other artists and talk about art. That's the best thing because we all have different approaches to how we work. And everybody has something that you can learn that would help you. And hopefully you have something that you can give as well. And that's one of the best things. And also for me, going out to say Statuesque Point and just sitting and listening to that water and taking nature in. I don't know, it just fills me. So, and looking at those sunsets and those clouds and those, you know, just everyday nature, that'll get me going again.
Yeah. Are there any artists or creatives who have influenced or inspired your work?
Yes, I really like, and I'm gonna write them down because my memory really is in the tank. So, yeah, Edward Hopper is one. He's a watercolorist, and he is excellent. I love his work. And I love it because he tells stories in his work, and he's not only a great watercolorist, but he is a storyteller, and it's super. It's so interesting to look at his work. And Andrew Wyeth is another one. He does the same thing. He tells a story. There's a whole life in his painting that's happening, and it just evokes humanity and what's going on in the world and what this person might be thinking, and it just takes you into a different realm. So I love that. And but I also like people like Georgia O'Keeffe, who is it's not even in I don't paint anything like she does, but I love her work. And I think I like it so much because she was so daring to do what she wanted to do. The heck with the world, you know. She just did her thing, and I admire that, and it was excellent and beautiful, and I mean it's just outstanding. Did I put somebody else in here? I know I do. Oh, Van Gogh. Van Gogh. How could I forget Van Gogh? I once did, we had to make a copy of somebody's painting. Just copy it, just to feel what they were doing. And I did that of one of his paintings. And it was like, wow, how did he think of this? Because it works beautifully. It's so great. And again, his paintings are alive. They're just jumping off the canvas, and they're beautiful. So those are some of the artists that really inspire me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. What advice would you give to an aspiring artist looking to pursue a career in the arts?
Talk to as many as artists as you can. Take as many classes as you are interested in. Read art books. There's thousands of them out there. Try things and don't give up. Just and do your thing. Be able to say, okay, this is how I want to paint. Great, do it. And figure out the best way for you to say what you want to say with that art. You just have to keep after it. And especially I think being in the company of other artists is so exciting. It just gets you really charged up. So that would be my best advice, I think.
Yeah. What is your favorite book, movie, song, podcast?
I was dreading this question because I'm not I don't listen to a lot of music. So I couldn't even give you the name of a song. I like songs. I like music that might be played in a spa. Or I was a yoga teacher for many years too, and I love that kind of music. But I also like music with a good beat. But I don't have a clue who's singing it, playing it. Oh, I just don't. I don't care about that. So I enjoy it in the moment, but I couldn't pass along anything about that. And as for books, I have two women authors that I like a lot. Kristen Hanna is one, and Jodi Picoult is for the other, because they write about real life, and they examine it to the depths of despair and to the heights of wonder. And I really like the way they approach their books. I must cry with every one. And if I cry when I read a book, I think that's a good book. It really got me. So those would be the two that I could answer. And there was something
Podcast or movie?
podcast. I don't even know how to get to a podcast. I'm not your era, remember? And I just don't I just haven't figured those out yet. But movies, we watch movies on television a lot, but we don't go to a lot of movies. And I can never remember the names of them. I know whether I like them or not, but I just don't get into that.
Is there a book that you recommend to people over and over again? Or
Not really. No, no. I have a lot of books that are rather on the yoga spectrum, and about self journey into how you want to live life, how you want to be able to just be to find out who you really are in there, and that kind of book, but nothing that as far as artists and stuff, no, because there are so many books. It's just, but if you like a certain author, get those books or go to the library and look at it and then decide if you want to buy one. because they help. They really help.
What do you want to talk about that I didn't ask?
Gosh, I don't think I have anything to talk about. I just, you've asked me a good set of questions. I don't know. I just think that, it's one of the questions you said, what am I planning, for the future? I don't know how long I want to be around, so I'm just not planning anything. I'm going to see what shows up. Um, and I guess that would be it. I don't know. I've led an interesting life in a way because we I don't know if you care about this, but we lived on boats. I worked on boats. Without my husband, with the Navy, we moved and moved and moved, and we still kept moving after that. And we've lived in a lot of different places, and so it's been an interesting life. And I taught art. I took art. Been a student of art. So, but art's been a big part of my life, the whole, the whole life. So, and I'm very grateful for that.
You got to paint a lot of different landscapes, I guess, all over the world.
I did.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for letting us into your studio today, and I felt inspired for sure. I can't wait to look up all the different things that you said. And much love. And we'll see you next time.
Oh, thank you.
Yay!